All right, so 6:02, so let's get started. My name is Maria Rodriguez. I work for the outreach unit at the New York State Higher Education Services Corporation, or HES, which is the agency that administers all the financial aid for college students in New York. So I hope that this presentation will provide you a lot of information about the financial aid system, the different sources of financial aid, the different opportunities that are available, and then the application process. We know that the financial aid system can be overwhelming, and sometimes it's a lot of information, but welcome to this presentation, because I think that by you getting informed about how to navigate the financial aid system will really allow you to make more informed decision about what are the best choices for the student and for your family as a whole. So with that, let's get started. If I can start moving forward. So I'm sure that now that you're planning to attend college, here are some questions that you might be having, and probably many other questions. And the first one that I listed here is how much it will cost, how would you pay for college, what is financial aid, when and how do you apply, where do you go for help? And I hope that the presentation tonight will really help you answer some of those questions listed here, but many other questions that you might have as well. And we will have a Q&A session towards the end so that you can also ask your individual questions. So why don't we just get started by defining what is financial aid? And financial aid basically helps students pay for the cost of attending college. Financial aid may be awarded based on the financial need that the student have, or their academic or athletic, looking at the parents' financial situation. And based on their financial information, then student might be eligible to receive financial aid based on need. And the other criteria is based on their academic excellence. But it can also be athletic ability or artistic ability. And the difference between the two is that, when a student is going to apply for any financial aid program based on their talent, we will not be looking at their parents' financial situation. And this is a very interesting point, because a lot of family that think that because of their financial situation, they might not be eligible for financial aid, they apply for those type of programs. So we will only focus on what are the talent that the student have, not the financial situation of the family. Now I'm gonna play a video that will just go over the different type of financial aid, and then we will come back to the presentation.
Before deciding on a college, you'll need to explore how you'll pay for everything. The good thing is that there's often help available. Through HESC, you can learn more about financial aid options, gift aid, and self-help aid, which can alleviate some of the financial burden. Gift aid is free money in the form of grants and scholarships. These often come from local clubs and organizations, the government, and the colleges themselves. Self-help aid is the money acquired through loans, such as federal loans or work-study programs at the colleges. You should focus on the free money first. Grants and scholarships, which are typically awarded based on need or merit, are free money because you don't have to pay them back.
You can help save thousands of dollars on tuition costs if you qualify for federal programs like Pell and Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grants, and New York State programs such as tuition assistance, the Excelsior Scholarship, and the STEM Scholarship. So make sure you apply. Learn more about New York State programs at hesc.ny.gov. At each school you apply to, be sure to research all financial aid and scholarship opportunities available. Remember, this is free money, so it's critical to explore these options first.
Wonderful. So yes, one thing that I really wish that this video will have is that it will go over, yes, apply for all the free money, but always be aware, what are the requirements? What is it that I need to do as a student in order for me to qualify to continue to receive that scholarship or that grant my second, third, and fourth year? And basically some of those requirements might be based on the family financial situation. So if the income changes and it goes up, more likely, you will lose the opportunity to reapply. Some other requirement might be that the student might need to take certain, number of credits or keep a certain GPA. And we have seen students losing the opportunity to reapply for a program because they were not aware of what the requirements are. So it's important for you to apply for all the free money, but always understand what are the requirements. What is it that I need to do in order to continue to be eligible to receive that program? Okay, and here's a little more information about the different type of financial aid: grants, scholarship, and federal loan. The first column, grants. So basically, the federal Pell Grant is one of the first step on applying for financial aid. And as of now, the maximum amount that a student can receive is $7,395. This is a number that typically increases on a yearly basis. We don't have the current amount, but it's probably will be similar to that. And then the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant is also a federal program that is offered to the student, but it's going to be based on the college. Colleges will have the discretion of giving the student this program based either on financial need or their academic excellence. So it's important that when students are creating the college list, that they search that college and find out how are they giving those grants to students. And then the federal work study is another program that is through the federal government, but the school will be the one distributing those funding for that program as well. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but last year, for this academic year, the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, went through a major makeover. And one of the questions that was listed on the application was if the student was interested in applying for federal work study. Unfortunately, that was one of the changes that was done to the application. So that question is no longer on the FAFSA application, but it's important for you guys to see how our colleges that the students are interested in attending will be distributing those funding. And then the last one is the New York State TAP, which is the Tuition Assistance Program, which is one of the major programs that we administer here at HES. So the maximum amount that a student can receive is $5,665, and the minimum is $1,000. That was increased from, I believe, was $500 that student used to get, but the funding went up this year and starting this year, so it will continue for the next academic year as well. And then the second column is scholarship. They can be based on need. They can be based on the student academic excellence, athletic ability, even artistic. And then outside scholarship can be from community, organization, corporation, religious institution. And then another aspect of the financial aid system, which sometimes family or students are not aware, is that students are also eligible to receive loans. Subsidize is the best choice for students to really apply for this type of loans, because what it means is that while the student is in college, the federal government will be paying the interest rate for that loan. It's important for you guys to double check the interest rate because I'm back from vacation and I did not double check that the interest rate is 5.50. Typically, every year it changes a little. And then it's important for you guys to also know that students are also eligible to get an unsubsidized loan. I always tell family that this is a topic of conversation before the student is completing financial aid application. Parents should be able to tell student if they will be in the position to take loan on behalf of the student. And then if the student has to take the subsidized loan, and then they can be offered an unsubsidized one if the parent is not eligible to take a loan on their behalf. I always tell them go with caution, because what that means is that the interest rate will start accruing while the student is in school. And if you find yourself in that situation, it's important for you to start paying the interest rate while you are in school. And I will give you some resources of where you can go to the federal website. They have a calculator that will be able to give you estimation of amounts, of what you will have to pay if you take S amount of loan. And remember, when you're taking a loan for the first year, more likely moving forward for the rest of the remaining of your college life, you will probably have to take loans, and probably the interest rate will increase. Okay. So how do you qualify for need-based aid? And this is the formula that colleges use to determine what will be the financial need that a student will have if we accept that student to attend our institution. So it's the cost of attendance minus the student aid index, or SAI, and any other financial assistance that the student might be obtaining from an organization, from the private sector. So cost of attendance basically will always include the tuition fee, room and board, books, supplies, transportation. And it's important for you to know that the cost of attendance is going to be different from colleges to colleges. So remember, when you are creating your college list, and if this is something that you guys can start doing now, it will be so helpful so that you have an idea. What are the institution costs of attendance that you are interested in attending? What are the type of financial aid assistance that they can provide you in addition to the federal and state financial aid program that you guys will be applying to receive? But cost of attendance also is going to be different. So a student who is going to a private college, it's not going to have the same cost of attendance for of a student who will be going to a public college, or even a student who is doing a 2-year college versus a 4-year. And more so, a student who is going out of state. Remember, when a student decide that they're going to be out of state, they are going to be losing any state financial aid assistance that they might be eligible to receive. So it's so important for you guys to start getting ready now, because there's so much information about how you guys can make the best decision for yourself, and also for the family situation. So a student cost of attendance is going to vary based on the decision that you guys are going to be making. And then moving to the second one, the student aid index. So this is basically a new term that is replacing the expected family contribution, as we used to refer to, last year before all the changes to the FAFSA. But basically, it's a formula that calculate what the family is able to contribute to pay for the student, attending college. So basically, this is a calculation that will consider the family income information that will be shared in the FAFSA application, and any other financial assistance that the student might be receiving. It can be from the private sector. It can also be from the colleges themselves, which is providing the student with an additional program or a scholarship, and also from parents' employer, or if the parents is part of a labor union. Sometimes they also have scholarships that the student can apply to receive. So when the colleges have those three calculations, then they will be able to determine what will be the need that the student have financially, if the institution allow the student to attend their institution. And just be aware that some colleges are very generous, and they will give you or they will cover all the financial need that that student have. Other colleges will give you a partial scholarship, and other colleges are not going to give you anything. So that's why it's so essential that if you take something out of this presentation tonight, is that, if you're a senior going to, starting the process of applying for financial aid, apply for college in the fall, you should be creating your college list. I think that is key, and you really seeing the number of the cost of attendance, the different type of assistance that they might be giving you in addition to the federal and the state and any other additional program that you might be eligible to receive either through your parents' employer or through, their labor union if they're part of one. So it's important for you guys to create that college list and start researching the website for those colleges about the admission process and also the financial aid assistance that they might offer. And a lot of them might have presentations such as this one virtually that will really help you navigate the best way for you to apply for those institutions. And then let's move on to talk about the sources of financial aid. So here are the federal aid that comes by you completing the FAFSA, New York State Student Aid, that is administered by my agency, scholarships from the private sector. They can be funded by company, group, foundation, organization, and even individuals. And then institutional aid, and those are programs that are coming from the colleges themselves, okay? So it's important for you guys to just get familiar with those, especially the private and the institutional aid from those colleges that you're interested in applying to attend. So why don't we get started by talking about the federal aid? And the federal aid, or completing the free application for federal student aid or FAFSA is the first step in applying for financial aid. Even, for a family who might think that they don't qualify to receive any financial assistance, it's best practice for you to complete the FAFSA application because this is basically the baseline that colleges will use to determine if you're eligible for any other program that they offer student. So please do not disqualify yourself by thinking that you're not going to get any assistance through the federal government. Apply, complete the application, and especially, last year was a nightmare. Students who graduated are still dealing with some of the issue that the big changes that the FAFSA and the system that the federal government used were giving students and family, and some of them are still struggling. We are hoping that that's not going to be the case this year. And in order for them to prevent some of those issues, what they're doing is that the FAFSA application typically will open October 1st, but they pushed that day to December 1st. Even though that they will be having some tests with a small group of students and organization that will have the opportunity to start completing the application at the beginning of October, just for them to see if there's any technical issue that the application is having, as we experienced last year. So we are hopeful that when December 1st comes and you guys will start completing the application, all those technical issues will be solved. And also, based on my experience from helping students completing the FAFSA, I always tell students don't start applying that first week when the FAFSA is available, because there's always technical issue. I always tell students and family, just wait a week or two so that you can see if any other family that are going at that first point are having technical issue. So, but that's my own opinion about the situation based on the past experiences. And then, just make sure that that you complete the application as soon as it's available for you. And remember, when you are completing the FAFSA, here are the program that you are applying to receive: Pell Grant, which is that free money; the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant and the Work Study are two federal programs, but that they will be given to you by the colleges themselves. So it's important for you guys to know how are colleges going to be distributing those funding. Are they just going to give it to need-based family, or are they going to also give those programs to students who have a great academic portfolio? So it's important for you to start just preparing about that. And the best way for you to know those things is by going into the college's website, participating in any virtual event that they might have. Also be on the lookout for a college fair where you know, you can go and meet with different representatives from different colleges and ask those questions, and you know, provide yourself with a lot of information about the admission process, as well as any other assistance that they might have to help you cover the cost of attending that institution. And then direct loans, as I mentioned, students will be offered subsidized loan and unsubsidized one. The subsidized one is the best one for the student because the government will be paying for the interest rate while they're in college. Parents will also be offer a Parent Plus loan. Remember, they will check the parents' credit. So again, this is a topic of conversation. I always feel that it's important for parents to be honest about, you know, not being able to take a loan on behalf of the student, so that the student is able to make better decision when they are creating their college list. So especially now where the deadline for, or not the deadline, but the opening of the FAFSA application is going to be a little different from what we are used to. It's important for you guys to start creating your student aid.gov account or FSA ID. It shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes. Unfortunately, this year, for those seniors who have completed the process of applying for financial aid, this has been one of those issues that was really creating a lot of problems. So I really recommend for you guys to start the process early, so that if there's any issue, can be addressed before the application open in December. And then you guys will be ready to start the process of applying. You're not able to start the process of completing the FAFSA without creating your account. And the student have to create an account, and then the parents have to create an account. We will be conducting presentation about how to create your account. I'm not sure, Jordan. You know, I just came back from 2 weeks vacation in the Caribbean, so I'm totally clueless about our fall calendar for the next couple of weeks. But we will be conducting this presentation to help you create the account as well. We'll also have to create an FSA ID account. So this was one of the major issues that the application was having last year. Hopefully, you know, it will be solved and we will be able to help you create the account without any issue. And then for all the changes that the FAFSA was having, we created FAFSA Ready, where we were giving information about an update about all the changes and information about the FAFSA. We also wanted to make sure that New Yorkers are aware that we are leaving almost $200 million on the table by not applying to or completing the FAFSA. So it's important for us to have that information so that we can encourage students to apply. And we will continue because, you know, there's going to be changes about the launch, like how are they, you know, it's not gonna be October 1st, it's going to be December 1st, but we will have events to help you not only create your FSA ID account, but also to complete your application. And as the time get closer, we will put those event on our event page. We have FAFSA completion, where we assist students and parents, and you know, our guidance counselor helps student complete their application, the FAFSA as well as the TAP. So now we're gonna move forward talking about New York State Student Aid program. And basically, HES is the New York State Higher Education Student Financial Aid Agency. We basically administer all the financial aid program for college student. And we have awarded nearly 1 billion in financial aid for more than 330,000 students. So again, it's important for you guys to apply for all the programs that you think you qualify to receive. And even if you have any doubt, please apply. Let us tell you that you don't qualify for those programs. But here are a few other programs that we are currently administering: the tuition assistance program, which is our STAR program, is one of the most popular older program that we administer. The Excelsior Scholarship, World Trade Center Memorial, New York State Memorial Scholarship, Enhanced Tuition Award. And as we move forward, there's a little more information about the tuition assistance program. And basically, the amount minimum is $1,000. The maximum is $5,665. And let's see, this was not changed, but this is going to continue for 2025-2026 academic year. And then the award will be basically combining, you know, we will look at the family income information. It's going to be based on that. So a student can receive $1,000, and then another student can receive the maximum amount. So it's just going to be based on the financial information that is reported when you complete the TAP application. This is annual. You will have to complete FAFSA and TAP application, or even the DREAM application for each year. So, you know, high school senior will complete the FAFSA and TAP application during the fall through early spring. And then, you know, after their first year in college, then they will have to apply for the complete the FAFSA and TAP, basically just to give information about any changes to their financial situation. And then the New York State Dream Act. This is the program that had opened the door to a lot of students who didn't qualify for any state aid. This has opened the door for the student to apply for TAP, Celsius, and any other program that we administer. But it's a two-step process. So basically, the student will need to complete the New York State Dream Act application. And then after that, if the student is eligible, they will then complete the TAP, Celsius, and any other program that they might be interested in applying to receive. And then the Excelsior Scholarship is another great program. And this is basically covered tuition at SUNY or CUNY colleges. And it allows students to, basically is the last dollar. So if a student is receiving the maximum amount of TAP, more likely their tuition is already covered with that on that program. But if there's any pending tuition to be covered, then the student can apply for the Excelsior Scholarship. And then, you know, the rest of their tuition will be covered by this program. So again, it's important for you guys to understand that, you know, we will look at the family income. The family must have 125,000 income bracket in order for them to qualify. But this is one of those programs that require the student to have a certain amount of credits. It's required for the student to take 30 credit per year. And if the student doesn't, they might lose the opportunity to reapply. So it's important for you guys to just be aware, apply for all those programs, but just be aware, what are the requirements? What is it that you have to do in order for you to qualify to continue to receive the award or not to lose the award? And this is a sister program to the Excelsior. So the only difference is that this is for private colleges who are participating in the program. So it's important again for you guys to create that college list so that you can see if any of the private institution that you're interested in attending is part of this program, then you can apply, and the student can receive a maximum of $6,000 toward the tuition expensive. And again, it will be a combination of TAP, and then if your TAP cover all the tuition, even though you will be able to apply for it, you probably are going to get $0 because this program is also covering tuition. So if your tuition is covered by one of the TAP, then more likely you're not gonna get any amount for this one. And now let's move on to talk about institutional aid. And this is a very important program because it's going to be provided by student by the colleges that they are planning to attend. It's important for you guys to start your research in all the colleges that you're interested to see how are they going to, like, what other programs do they have in addition to the federal program, state program, in order for you to help you cover the tuition or the cost of attending college. So find out how are you eligible to apply to some of those programs. And one of the most popular application for institutional aid is the CSS profile. And basically, it's important that you find out if any of the colleges are require you to complete the CSS profile, because it's a financial aid application, but it's a very detailed application, about like 300 questions. So it's important for you to get ready because it's going to ask a lot of information, very detailed information about your family financial situation. And you know, not every college require you to do that. There's a number of colleges that require you to complete this application. It's basically first come, first served basic. So if you have any colleges that require this form, it's important for you guys to start getting ready now. Okay. And this is another application that might be available for you to start completing it October 1st. Because that's typically when all the financial aid application used to open up before all the changes with the FAFSA. And now private scholarship. And I think I always said that private scholarship are awarded or given to students based on sometimes their academic achievement or their leadership skill or even extracurricular participation. So it's important for you to start making a list of what are your talents, what are the things that you're interested in. And then based on that, start creating a list of scholarship that you might be interested in applying to receive. And some of them might be based on merit, need-based, which is looking into your family income situation. Some of them might be based on your athletic ability, community service scholarship, private scholarship. So where can you find scholarships? Local foundation, religions, community organization, businesses, civic groups, banks, organization including professional association related to your field of interest, parents, employer, if they're part of a union. So it's important for you guys to also stay connected with a guidance counselor because they do provide a lot of information to students and deadlines of when some of those either essays or applications are due. And here's some website where you can start looking. And I'll just move forward because we have more information. This is a list that I personally created because this is information that I used to receive from my daughter's guidance counselor, who is now going into her second year in college. So it's so important for you just to stay connected and make sure that you apply. My daughter's guidance counselor was amazing in giving us deadlines of when some of those scholarship were due, and she will send reminders. So I hope that you have the same experience. But Undigo is a scholarship. It's an amazing website. I'm still well, no, my daughter's fiance just graduated this summer, so he received a scholarship from them for 2 consecutive years, to the point that he didn't have to take loans. So it's important for you guys to just start creating those connection with some of those organization and apply. Don't be scared. I think sometimes we hesitate because we think that we're not going to qualify. But I always tell students and parents, just allow the company or the organization to indicate that you don't qualify. Don't disqualify yourself just by having those negative thinking thoughts. And then some of helpful tip about searching for scholarship, just begin as early as possible. I when I do presentation for junior, I always tell parents this is the time where you should be searching for private scholarship and community organization scholarship, because I think it just gives enough time for you to prepare and find out what are the requirements, but it's never too late. So this is the time for you guys to start searching for them and apply to as many as possible. And I'm just gonna bombard you with a lot of companies that are very familiar to us, that we probably have some type of awareness of them, right? Because Google we use almost daily, right? Well, we see it. So please, take advantage, start your research. I know sometimes it's very overwhelming, and especially for senior this year, this is the time where you're gonna be bombarded with so much. And this is the type of financial aid that is always neglected because it's optional. But I always tell students, if you need to take loan, you should be looking into private scholarships or merit based or whatever is something that is going to describe your situation. You should be applying, because if you get $2,000 and you had to take 7,000 on a loan, then that's 5,000. You're gonna have to take less than $2,000, and when you add the interest rate for that 7,000, you are going to be saving significantly amount of money. So there's also a few website. FastWeb is a great search engine, College Board, scholarship.com, Career One Stop. And just be careful when you are applying for scholarship through the private sector. Just make sure that you are careful who you're providing your personal information to. Make sure that if any organization is asking you to pay a fee, you should be cautious, because a lot of this organization are trying to give you money, not take money from you. And always connect with your guidance counselor to make sure that they can help you if you have any question about any organization being legitimate. What should you be doing now? It's important for you guys to complete FAFSA as early as possible. As I indicated, it's going to be opening up December 1st. But it's important for you to also know that that first week when the application opens up, sometimes it has a lot of glitches. So I always, try to wait 1 or 2 weeks prior to completing it. But it's important for you to be ready with all the other steps, creating your FSA ID, having your college list, starting to see any private scholarship that you're interested in applying to see when you should be applying. Is it an essay? Is it just an application? And then it's important for you to do what you're doing, attending some of the events that we will be facilitating. And we will be putting our FAFSA completion event probably, sometime during the fall. Probably, I will say towards the end of October, the middle of November, just because we know that that's the day when the FAFSA will be available for the public. Register for the SAT, ACT if you need to take them. And remember, file your New York State TAP application and any other application for any other program that we administer. And also be aware that typically we used to open our TAP application with when the FAFSA opens up. This year, we open it up prior to, because with the changes of the FAFSA, they open it up at the end of December, and we ended up opening the TAP by the beginning of November. I'm not sure what's going to happen with our TAP application, but more likely we probably will be opening early again. But I'm not sure if my colleague has any new information about that. But typically, we used to love opening FAFSA and TAP at the same time because it was easier to complete the application. But we will, as I said before, we will be hosting a lot of the completion event where not only we will be helping you complete FAFSA, but we will also help you complete TAP. Other things, see if any of the colleges that you are applying or interested in attending require other financial assistance application forms such as the CSF profile. Also find out when you should be completing it. As I mentioned, typically the CSF profile opens up October 1st. This last year and this year are going to be not the typical financial aid deadline because the CSS profile, FAFSA and TAP used to open at the same time. It seems that this year is going to be different as well. So it's important for you guys to start creating a list of all those applications for financial aid that you should be completing, and when should you be getting ready to complete them. And then learning about the financial aid process. I think, attending here tonight, it's just the first step. As you can see, there's a lot of information, and information will be changing probably towards the middle of September. We will have more information about the deadlines and when of anything new about the FAFSA. We will also have an idea about our TAP application, specifically when we'll open up. So continue to attend. And then one of the major topic, I feel that discussing college affordability in a family setting is so essential, so that when students are making decisions, they are aware of what my family is able to afford. And if my family is not going to be able to, or my parents are not going to be able to take a loan on my behalf. So that might also have an impact on where they will be interested in attending. So now we're gonna open it up for any additional questions that you guys might have, but I'm not sure if we have any queue. Okay, I think we have some in the chat. So, my first question is for, somebody who applied for, the HESC Master in Education. And they have not heard, back. So we have been, working and really, processing application for, not only the tab, but for other program. But I can definitely, give you my email and, so you can send me your name and your date of birth, and, I will facilitate that information to the scholarship unit to see if they can give us any, information about when you should be hearing back from them. Okay, so, if I can pay for the school and I have used the maximum of my financial aid, are there any loans that are available? That will be a conversation. Are you going to the same school or are you transferring? Because what happens is when you use all your, your financial aid credits, more likely what you will be eligible to receive will be any assistance from the colleges themselves, and then, private scholarships, private loans. Okay, but then you can also apply definitely for private, assistance as well. So, my colleague did, indicated that we will be doing the, FSAID presentation every Monday, starting next week. So I hope to see some of you there. So the income adjustment, so basically what happens is, and I'm not sure if you're referring to the increase of income that, the tab had this year, or if you think, if you're talking about, adjustment that, might need to be done, based on any changes on your financial situation. So basically, the tab was increased, from 80,000 to 125,000. So now more, students and family will be eligible to receive a larger tab award. Now, if you're, talking about adjustment of income because you completed your application and then your family income was changed, that's something that you need to talk to, the college that you are attending. Basically what you need to let them know is that even though that the income that you reported on your financial application, you know, you were eligible to receive S amount of, um, money on scholarships and grants, that income doesn't longer represent your family situation. And basically what they will do, it will depend on the school. They will have, basically, indicate to you documentation that you might have to provide them. And then they will be the one making that adjustment, okay? So we do not make adjustment. We go based on what, your tax information was reported for New York State. And the same thing for the federal, whatever, income information was reported on your federal, tax information, that's what they, make, their decision based on. However, if any changes was, done to your financial situation, then you will have to address that with the school. So, Stanley, you applied for TAP and you keep getting a message about your social security or your, name. Huh. So there's probably a conflict with the information that was completed on your FAFSA and the information that you completed the TAP. They're not, the same information. So it seems that probably where you're getting the message is from the FAFSA. If you're getting something indicating that your, as the social security number doesn't match, it's probably, from the federal, but, and my, My colleague just gave you also the answer, indicating that you probably will have to get your income for 2022 verification. So, and I think she gave you the email for the TAP processing unit. But that sometimes happens where we're not able to match either the parents' financial or the student financial with what the financial department has on your taxes, and then we get that we send that message. Yeah, so you're not gonna be Stanley, you're not gonna be able to correct it, because we what we do when you guys complete an application is that we verify information through the finance department. And if that information is not matching, then we need to get the tax transcript in order for us to get that from the official agency. So I hope that you can get the transcript, and if not, my colleague just indicated that we will be having a drop-in tomorrow. Please feel free to join us, and then we will be able to individually troubleshoot some of the issue that you guys are discussing here. And then I'm gonna put my email in the chat so that you guys can also send it to me, but I will just recommend for you guys to join us tomorrow. And we will be able to take down personal information and have either the scholarship unit or the tab processing unit check each individual situation. So I put my email in the chat, and I think that is it. So I really thank you guys for attending this presentation tonight. And then I will be doing a presentation, I believe is September 24, and it's going to be about what should high school senior be doing now. So please feel free to join us. We will have this presentation moving forward Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 to 7. So please feel free to also join any of those presentations. We will update information as we get them from from the federal government as well as from our agency as well. Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure having you this evening. Oh, in the first website, this is where you can go and see the loan calculator. And basically, it's a great tool that you should be using if you will be taking loans, because it will give you the set amount that you will be taking, including the interest rate, and then how long it will take you to pay it back. Okay. And then as you can see, the second one is our agency. You can go there for all the information about the different program that we administer. And then this is an email address also for any additional question that you might have. Please feel free to send it here as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening. And I think there was a Q&A. Okay. So what about if you don't have a major decided, Jacob? That's fine. You don't have to. So basically, you will be doing not only your FAFSA tab and admission application at the same time. The only thing that you need to have is some possible colleges of where you're interested in attending. You don't even have to have a confirmation of any college. So that's the beauty of applying for financial aid and at the admission process of different agency, that you can do all the application almost simultaneously and you will be fine. You will have to decide by the spring, I believe by May 1st. You will have to decide which of the colleges that are accepting you to attend their institution, which one of those institutions you will be attending. So you will have plenty of time to decide, not only on your major, sometimes I think in my case, I decided my major at the beginning, and then towards my second year, I switched it. So not smart because but then it's this time for student to explore. because, you know, I decided to change it, and then I ended up, staying in school for an extra semester, to make sure that I have all my classes, so. But that's something that is important, you know, as a college student to explore. You can have an idea that you're gonna go in as, you know, health, and then you decide that you wanna do something else, and that's the beauty of, you know, taking your classes and exploring different, fields, so. So, yeah, so you don't have to decide that now. I'm just taking a last look at the Q&A and. Thank you. So thank you, everyone. So have a good evening, and I hope to see you in some of our future events. Make sure that you check our website for the events that are coming up for the rest of September, but more likely it will just be very similar to October, November, and December, where we will be doing the senior financial aid, and then we will be doing you know, the FSAID presentation, as well as many other topics that will be coming up as we start the process of helping students complete their financial aid application.